Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. We're currently joined by 10th Man, so I'm going to pass over to the Hangout, see if I can get his attention. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Excellent, very good to have you.
To be here. My morning delight before I go to the farm.
I listened back to yesterday's show and I won't make any excuses like being tired, which I am, but I was quite sweary, and a couple of people after the show were like, wow, you were really sweary in that show, and I'm like, is it really that bad? And then I listened back after the fact and I'm like, wow, yeah, I was really sweary, and at one point you were backing me, and I just took it as an interruption and just started swearing at you, so I'm really sorry.
Well, I understand, but I consider all that friendly fire. The heat of the moment, it's just friendly fire. I mean, these guys are crazy on the other side, so they just get under your skin sometimes.
Yeah, everyone has a lapse. What is it, 800 and something odd shows? Occasionally I'm going to get a bit sweary. It's just how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, the ones who've already pretty much, how can I put it, shown who they are and repeatedly do the same things. It's almost like, oh man, this guy again. We need some new, father, some new flesh to talk to, so that they could be seen as ballers that don't make sense. These guys that keep coming back, the only thing they got left is ad homs, and their whole goal is to get you to swear.
Probably to just annoy me and wind me up. Yeah, a few people said that as well. They're like, well, I think it was Slick James Johnson that was basically saying, look, if that's his MO to just come in and wind you up, then he's won. He's succeeded. And you think, yeah, as much as I hate to agree with you, you are correct in that assertion.
Yeah, because when they don't have anything else to say, which they should have a encyclopedia worth of things to say, but they, for some reason, don't. They say, oh, Nathan's a glober. What? Nathan's a glober? Nathan is one of you acting as one of us, and you're telling us on live air. But you only tell us that when you can't answer any questions. You never tell us that before.
Yeah, they're really scratching to find something to ad hom me with at the moment. So digging out all the same old shit. And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
It's very telling. It was like with Anthony recently with George Musa, similar sort of thing. It's very telling when all you're saying is this isn't a rebuttal. You're not actually providing a counter argument, and what they do in lieu of a counter argument is go and dig out crap from the past and say he's a glober. Look, he said the words perfect globe proof, therefore must be a glober. Yeah, okay, if you like. Where's that drop again?
Yeah, I've said that to people too. I said, well, for your world to work, it would have to be this way. Now, someone could say, I heard him say that it would have to be this way, but they take it out of context.
Yeah, we discussed it on a couple of shows ago. Ranty, who happened to be there, who was literally in context during the show that quote was taken from, and he was like, "Well, in context, this is what we were discussing," and he just went through it there and then. Now, me, not interested in defending some year-old argument, but Ranty's got a memory for those sorts of things, and he's quite particular. And he's like, "No, I remember that argument. This is the context," and he just laid it out there. You're like, "Oh, thank you very much." So it's me doing it, not that I was going to.
Yeah, that was good by him for doing that, even on the last show here for sure. But that even if you can't remember what you said, you're never going to go that much opposed to what your show's about, what you believe. You will never do a self-contradiction or violate the law of non-contradiction on what you believe. So you can say, well, Yeah, I may have said those things, but in the context that I would have said it would have been this way.
Well,
I don't remember.
it's taken completely out of context. Essentially, what was going on was there's a debate going on, and Anthony and I are chatting back and forth on Skype. And what Anthony's done is shared his screen and then kept the screen share of me and him conversing back and forth. And one of the things I've said is, don't say that because they'll use it as a quote perfect globe proof. But I haven't put it in that context. I've just said perfect globe proof because I'm not going to type out a lengthy. Our opponents on the globe side of this argument will utilise this position that you want to take as a proof for them of the globe. I'm not going to write that in a Skype message to Anthony. When I say perfect globe proof, obviously it's to Anthony. He's not going to suddenly assume I've turned baller, right? So,
Exactly.
but when you screenshot that in isolation, you go, he said the words perfect globe proof. Like, yeah, in context, from them, during that argument, specifically about a projected beam going out at a set distance that Wiki states is 20 miles, and we can see it 31. Well, there's quite a lot of context there, but it certainly doesn't mean it's actually a globe proof. And if, like Wiggles, you want to come along and say, here you go, you've said the words perfect globe proof, it's like, okay, go and get what I was talking about and show it me and present it as a perfect globe proof then. Or worship me as your new arbiter of globe proof and just say Nathan says. Yeah, no worries, you cite me. You want to worship at the altar of Nathan for globe proof, then fine. Good for you.
Well, it's like when Jesus in the Bible was talking about symbolically doing a ceremony to remember his death and resurrection. He says, eat, when you break this bread, you're eating my flesh. And when you drink this wine, you're drinking my blood. And then these people saying, wow, this guy's, teaching cannibalism. And it's right there in the scripture. So a lot of people left, and he looks at his disciples. He says, are you going to leave too? And they said, no, who else are we going to go to? And then he said, look, the words I spoke to you, and this is coming from Jesus right afterwards. The words I spoke to you are spiritual. They have a spiritual connotation to it. I'm not, because he would have to go against the teaching of the Bible to say, eat flesh and drink blood, which of course he wouldn't. So there you go. They do it to Jesus too. It's a symbolic ceremonial act of celebrating his act of death and resurrection. That's all.
Okay, fair enough.
No, I mean, you're in good company, is what I'm saying.
Good.
They do it to him.
That's a parallel I wasn't expecting, but yeah.
Hey, by the way, Sleeping Warrior did a good show with Farmer's Boy and Jose yesterday.
I saw it. Yeah, it's good.
It's so funny. Yeah, they need gravity to exist. Like we need oxygen to breathe. And look, even though you just tore me apart, it has to exist. It exists. I mean, that was his base of his whole argument.
It was great. I mean, obviously, when I'm watching back the shows on the second channel, subscribe today. And if you are watching this, you are watching this on the second channel. So subscribe if you're not already. Anyway, it's nice watching Anthony rather than myself or a panel that I already know the outcome of, because obviously I've made the show, so I'm going to know the outcome. Whereas with Anthony, I didn't know where it was going or what was going to happen, but what I did watch was him absolutely obliterating him, and it made me really happy. I'm like, this is ace. Just sitting there watching and typing out stuff that obviously Anthony knows is coming up, because he's made it same as me when I'm doing this show. So I'm typing out things like, well, that's a logical fallacy for blah, 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 and Anthony's like, will be in the chat also saying, yeah, that's coming up, or smile, yes. And then as he's replying, it's getting demolished there and then. You go, this is great. This is really good fun to take part in. From that perspective, I sort of got a newfound appreciation for what people take out of my show, because I've not experienced that third hand before.
Right.
It was great. I really enjoyed it. It's like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy my own show, so I get that, but now I can appreciate it on a different level, which is to say when you've had absolutely no part in it being produced and you just watch it, totally relaxed with no preconceptions about what you're going to see, you get a different slant on it, and it must be like that for my audience. So it's given me a new rejuvenated feeling about my own show watching that. So I'm really grateful to Anthony for publishing that. That was great.
No, what you felt, if I'm hearing you correct, what you felt when you were watching Anthony's show and experiencing it for yourself is how we feel when we watch your show. Because, for example, your housekeeping questions, the 7 housekeeping questions, they're so profound and yet so simple a child could understand. And yet we turn everyone on their heads because they can't answer those in the proper way. whether it's Wiggles or Zinder or whoever, it doesn't matter. You know, Brenda or whoever. I mean, they're just crazy. They can't answer 7 simple housekeeping questions to get along. And yet a child could understand it. So there's this feeling of watching your show where you're actually getting content that's moving you forward cerebrally. In your brain, you're getting smarter about the place we live at and what the shape of it is. Whereas when you watch other flat earth shows, and I've really decreased that for myself just because there's nothing there compared to what's here on your show. And I don't mean the fireworks and the excitement of your show. I mean the content. Is that when I'm sitting with someone and I just watched your show this morning, for example, and let's say this afternoon I'll be sitting with someone. In fact, it happened yesterday. Watch your show in the morning, then I had some company, you know, and we're sitting down and I made some burgers for everyone to eat. And he brought up a flat earth, this guy that was here, but he was a friend of mine who had heard me talk about it with him and his wife at a restaurant one time. And so he says, yeah, my wife, after we went home, thought you were crazy. And I said, that's funny, because I thought you couldn't have gas pressure without a container. The conversation just stopped. And I said, now who's crazy? The one that thinks you can have gas pressure with a container, or the one who thinks you can't have gas pressure without a container? I mean, you can have gas pressure without a container. Right. And I just stopped. And it was over. It was instantly over that one statement. There's no rebuttal to it. Well, there is. You'd have to admit we're right, but they don't want to go there. So, of course, if I was on the show saying that, Wiggles would have said, oh, 10th man's a glober. Oh, you ran out of arguments. I see.
Right, there is no real rebuttal. There's only obfuscation that you can, that sort of route that you can go down.
Anyway, hopefully Anthony's getting on the show again so we can give him some love today because he did great. But also there was this, I scanned the internet for news articles dealing with space and NASA, and one was up yesterday, and I'll have to get my phone. I don't have it with me right now. But it had to do with the moon landings, and it was in the Express, the English newspaper, the Express. I can't remember the full name, but I'll get it later. And it just showed pictures, and it had a title that was catchy. The astronauts something saw monsters on the moon. Monsters on the moon. I thought this is interesting. So I read the article, which is full of ads, hardly any content itself. And they're describing craters and mountain ranges being X amount high. And I'm trying to figure out what the monsters are. And it was really an article that said nothing, but had a lot of pictures. So all the sheep can look at pictures and be further brainwashed that we went to the moon just because the pictures were in this article. It was that silly of an article. There was nothing there.
That's a really cheap magic trick, though. Why not? You've got to pull it off constantly to keep people indoctrinated. So even in a suggestive subliminal only, it's not even subliminal, it's overt, isn't it? When they're just sticking up pictures of monsters on the moon, for example. It's not exactly subliminal, it's not exactly subtle. It's only subliminal for the fact that you don't necessarily realise that it's completely made up nonsense. Hey, Paul. That's a lot of noise, Paul. Wow, unbelievable.
Hey, Paul.
That's very loud. Hey, Paul, can you hear us?
Hey, Paul.
Hey, Paul. Pop him on mute, I think.
Sound like a choo-choo train.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the title said monsters, but they didn't show any monsters. And then the article avoided it and talked about craters, and it was mainly just to show pictures so that the sleeping mass public would just say, "Oh yeah, we went to the moon." That's how bad our argument is destroying them. They have to resort to this.
Right.
No, it's great. I mean, don't think you're not at the tip of the spear. I mean, I'm not saying this kiss your butt. I am saying you and others like you, not just you, but you and others like you are at the tip of the spear of bringing this lie down. So they're going to react. So hopefully you have plans we're off of YouTube and Hangouts and all that. Hopefully, you have some backup plans working already.
Yeah, I mean that I have put in place, not because I wanted to, but because I had to. In other words, I don't know, over Christmas I was forced into a position where I had to make alternatives available, at least in the short term, and then I got my ability to use YouTube back, which is great because that is my desire. I want to be a YouTuber, so that would be very disappointing. I'd have to reassess it if that happened. Same way as Red Pill Philosophy's just had to do exactly that, having been demonetised. So I don't know the ins and outs of why, but you know, it's just one of those things that you think, God, I hope that doesn't happen to me.
Yeah. Well, if they're going to get him, and they're going to get people like him, you're somewhere on that list. I could guarantee you're somewhere on that list.
Well, not necessarily. Does he cover hoaxes and things like that?
That's not what I'm addressing. I'm addressing the complete need of control of what people see and what people don't see. And this is where our governments, so-called worldwide, are puppets of the very few who run this world, this evil system. And so it doesn't matter where you're coming from, whether it's Red Pill Philosophy and where he's coming from or where we're coming from, or your geoengineering.org. He had to go to that name instead of use climate change, because anything with climate change and global warming is flagged. So he has to have a title called geoengineering, because, oh, okay, their algorithms are going to see geoengineering. They're not going to think, someone's against climate, with the spraying and all that crap.
I see. I mean, for me, it's just, I would hope that I'm reasonably familiar with the YouTube terms of service, community guidelines, copyright regulations. That's all you can do, really.
No, you could be, excuse me for interrupting. That's not even the point. You could follow everything. That's not the point. They're going to shut anything that they seem to show dissidence, anything that goes against their narrative. And Flat Earth will go against their narrative. They're going to label it dissident.
Why do you assume that?
I don't assume it. I'm watching it. I'm watching it happen in China already because they have complete control. China is a good place to look at what they're doing in every area.
That's not what I mean.
What they're doing.
That's not exactly what I mean. What I mean is, why would you assume that they want to shut Flat Earth down?
Yes.
Why would you assume that?
It's very simple. If Flat Earth wins at the end of the day, which it will ultimately, it's going to change everything in every book, in every library, in every university that has ever been taught. And if they can't even tell us with a $53 million budget a day the truth, how can we trust them to tell us the truth when they're getting 1,000 a day?
But had you considered that we were part of that truth, but it's intentional? In other words, rather than just overtly stating it and then people putting two and two together that it's been a deception, they leave it to slowly filter out.
Well, expand on that, please.
If it's slow release, so having some pushback and having the arguments slowly defeated is gradually introducing people to it. So
yeah,
rather than just overtly telling people and having a paradigm shift which could descend society into chaos for all the reasons you gave. So if you just let it out in little bits and pieces, let the public push back against it and slowly come to the realization rather than it just being told to them, there isn't a line drawn in the paradigm shift. It slowly fades from one into the other, and we could be part of that.
No, we are part of that, and I'm actually addressing that because look what they've done already with this slow whatever. No matter where you are on that, drip method of slow, so it's not chaotic right away. How many YouTube channels have they demonetized? How many YouTube channels have gotten strikes on this issue already? And so when you bring up these topics, and there's other shows who cover a wide variety of subjects, not just Flat Earth, but others, and they've been demonetized. Their subscribers rates are being manipulated. So we are having the effect. Now they sent their pretender clowns. They sent their pretender clowns to shut us down, and all their pretender clowns have been shut down via Muser, via whoever. So now, when they want the complete control, which they haven't even flipped the switch for that yet. But if you want to see where they're doing that, just look at China and what they're doing to their people. I mean, one story I read and I shared about is the organ harvesting. When you go to China to get an organ, whether it's a kidney or a lung or eyeballs, they've got machines now that can keep a person's organs alive until the person from whatever country comes to get those organs. Okay, they got these new, brand spanking new machines that can do that. So what they're doing is they're arresting all their dissidents and they're carving them up, as gross as it sounds, taking their organs. Now, when you go to a country like Israel or some other place or a European country and say, I want an organ transplant, you have to wait 3 years to 6 years. You go to China, same day. How in the world do they give you an organ the same day? You know how? Because they are arresting their people who they call dissidents and they're harvesting their organs. It is the most grossest thing you've ever seen.
How do you know that?
I'll send you a link for it. There's Chinese dissidents who've left China who have given eyewitness testimony.
I can't help but think of The Island, the movie.
The Island?
Yeah. The Island, yeah. With,
Soylent Green,
McGregor
the movie.
and-
Soylent Green.
That was a really,
Yeah.
that was a good movie.
It was a good movie. It's about organ harvesting, and you won the lottery. You escaped the island, but really you're gonna get hacked up, and your body's gonna get used for organs.
Soylent Green is people.
Do you know there's a food now actually called Soylent Green? It's a meal in a jar.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
People
it's
will
not
market anything.
people. I think that's even the slogan.
That's Soylent Green is people.
This one
Gosh,
isn't. This is just
I remember
plant-based
watching that movie
proteins
when it
and such.
came out, Charlton Heston.
Yeah, Charlton
Yeah,
Heston.
like 1973.
Yeah, I remember it.
It's predictive programming, man. There, you can Google. There'll be some like hearsay stories about human meat being in McDonald's. It's all just like like that slow drip that I think Randy or 10th Man was talking about. They just slowly release these things, so you can. When you first hear eating human meat, that's the biggest shock. It's like, oh, we eat humans. Then like after that wears down, you kind of like start placing it again in society as like these desensitization techniques. That's the slow drip.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Travis, 10th Man, Ranty Flat Earth, Mind Warped, Chocolate Sane, Paul, and we've also got a whole bunch of Discord server people that I can't quite see at the moment, but very good to have you all.
Hello.
Howdy.
Hello. Any signs of Earth curvature?
Nope.
Good morning.
Not at all.
And no.
Hey, Arwin. Hey, Chocolate.
What's up?
Sky. Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No.
None whatsoever.
I think I saw it at the start of a couple of movies once.
Axial rotation?
Yeah. Remember the Universal intros?
Axial rotation of a graphic isn't really Earth-based, though, is it? I mean, I can say I saw
we're spinning around the Earth.
saw an animation of unicorns, but so what?
Yeah, but who took the picture?
Of the
Any
unicorns?
proof of unicorn rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Yeah, nobody. They're just CGI unicorns. They just made them up. Any scientific
so,
evidence? Any scientific
Right.
evidence of gravity?
Scientific evidence of what?
Gravity. Scientific evidence thereof.
Scientific evidence of what?
Gravity.
I got to shout out Human Sheeple, who gave me a great contradiction for gravity. So mass is inertia, which is the resistance to movement. Gravity is mass attracts mass. So mass, resistance to movement, also is the cause of movement.
Lovely. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nothing measurable.
There is no confirmed distance to the measured distance to the sun.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Any evidence of what?
A molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth.
That's
Yeah,
too
that's a
hot
bit
to even be
ridiculous now.
magnetic.
Was that too hot for what?
It's too hot to be magnetic.
Oh, it's beyond the
Indeed.
Curie point. Yes, indeed.
Indeed, it loses all its magnetism once it passes that Curie point.
Yeah, but I did hear stories from NASA and related that there's now like a solid layer in between, or the actual core is solid with a molten layer around it, or it's kind of unclear what it's supposed to be. They're still working on it.
Yeah, well, when they've dug past 20 miles, let us know.
Just 20.
I think
Just 20.
I think there is evidence for all these things online if you want to look for it. I'm not going to present any
Maybe
of it.
it's
But
a
you can go
solid
look.
sodium core inside of liquid iron with lava on top. Maybe that could work.
Who said there's evidence online?
Dawn.
It was Dawn, of course.
Hey, Don, how far is the deepest hole ever dug?
I've heard it's 9 miles.
Okay, we'll give you an
12
extra mile.
kilometers.
We'll give you an extra mile. So how deep
I
is
don't
the
know
core?
what I don't know what the evidence is of a molten iron core, but I assume there is some because some people think it's molten iron and it's a core. So I'm assuming there's some evidence. I don't know what it is, but you could look online for it if you're interested.
That's lovely. Thank you, Dawn, for your suggestion that we can utilise Google. That's really helpful. Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
Oh
No
yeah, there's
R
lots of evidence
value.
of that online as well. Many people have measured that, but going back centuries actually.
No, they haven't.
What line is this
your
evidence
evidence
on?
of things is many people believe they exist, and you can look them up online, and that's your evidence of
Hold on.
shit.
I just
Can
want
you
to
click
correct
the
Dawn.
link?
You know how
on the internet.
ridiculous
Hold
that
on,
sounds?
can I just correct Dawn? Sorry, Dawn, you said they've measured it.
Yeah.
No, they haven't. What do you
Not
know?
directly, not directly.
What do you know that they actually measured? Tell me what you think they've measured.
Your link's broke, Nate.
I think they
Okay, I'll
measured
sort that out.
the rate of the drop and the curvature, and they probably measured the distance between 2 points over the ocean.
So you haven't got a clue where they got R from. They got it from the path of the sun, Dawn.
You sure?
Got it from the lying piece of crap Google.
Yeah, it's
Wait a minute, they got it
Aristarchus
from
or
the
Aristophanes.
sun. Which they can't measure
Even if that's
from
how they got it, I
distance.
mean that's still evidence, isn't it, of the radius of Earth's distance?
No, because it goes above our heads, Dawn. So the assumption being that it's traversing the outside edge of a sphere. So it's based on a presupposition of a sphere, and then they derive it from the sun. Now that would give you a circumference, but they derive a spherical radius from that. So
Lots
no,
of things
it's
in
based on a
science are
presupposition.
Based on presuppositions, isn't it?
Yes,
A lot of
it's-
science is based on presupposition.
Yeah, well then they haven't measured it, Dawn. You're just wrong.
But they have evidence of the measurement.
Shut
They
up,
don't say they
Dawn.
measured it
Shut
directly,
up.
obviously.
Shut your mouth, Dawn. We've had enough. You don't know anything. Don't tell us to Google search stuff, okay? We know we've got Google, thank you. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container for all the fundamentalist religious zealots who believe they
all
have a
around us.
sky
We
vacuum?
live in the evidence.
Dawn can't even
We
let
live
me...
in the
Right, Dawn,
evidence.
right, I'm in the middle of a question, right? Now, most of the other panel, at least let me finish a statement. If you can't help yourself but interrupt the question itself, then you're not allowed to be here. Do you understand this will be your last warning?
Yes, I apologise.
Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container for all those fundamentalist religious zealots who believe the sky is a vacuum defying the law of entropy?
None
Yes,
at
I
all.
think there's lots of evidence of that.
Just
I
look
don't
it up
care what you
online.
think there is, Dawn. If you have evidence for it, present it. Don't tell me that you believe or you think or that you can Google search, okay?
My evidence is you breathing air now and never finding a container in the sky. That's my evidence that gas pressure exists without a container.
No worries. Okay, that's not evidence. But if you go and Google the word antecedent, you'll find the answer to that problem.
Yeah, but that's talking about car tires, isn't it? Not reality.
What did I ask you to Google? Repeat the word I used.
No, I did that last show, the other show.
That's not what I
where we
asked.
went over
Repeat the word I asked you to Google search. What was the word I asked you to Google search?
Antecedent. We did this 2 shows ago.
And did you Google search it?
I did 2 shows ago. I know what it means now.
What does it mean?
It means the necessary cause or thing that is needed for this phenomenon to happen.
So, in other words, to have pressure, you need to press on something. Yes,
Yeah.
that's right, Dawn.
But the place where you're talking about that word antecedent being used is in a definition of how gas pressure on Earth works when we make it. Not
we
reality
don't make
made
it.
by God.
What are you talking? Dawn, we don't make gas pressure.
It's not talking about the sky or the atmosphere.
So the second
or
law
reality
doesn't
in any
apply
way.
to reality?
Can I say something real quick?
Hold on. Arwin, he's all yours.
Are you saying, Don, that the second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to reality, only to conceptual physics? That in the actual
Well, I
reality
understand
of the world we live in and we can touch, that law doesn't work there. Is that what you're saying?
No, I think it still works. Honestly, if you're falling back on laws, scientific laws, what about the law of gravitation? Should we consider that one? If we're saying scientific laws are true.
I thought that
You don't
was
just
what
declare
you
something's a
were
law
saying.
and then it becomes a law.
Well, Arwen just did, didn't he? He believes in the second law of thermodynamics. So sure,
That has been demonstrated.
but we
quantified.
can't consider the law of gravitation a law.
Well, you can't quantify the gravitational.
So we just pick.
So we don't consider it a
We
law.
pick which laws.
One, gravity is not a
consider
force,
laws
so it
now.
can't. No, it's not. You see, when you want to consider law, it has to be backed up in reality, like you said, right? Reality. So in reality, a not force of gravity cannot make acceleration. So we don't consider it, right? Because it's not a law. Because if it was a law, it would have a real force moving real objects, not a fake force creating something that does something. Okay,
Well,
so
something's
thermodynamics.
moving real objects. So something's moving real objects.
Well, yeah, that something has
Yeah,
to be a real
relative
force, not
density
a
is,
fake one.
yes.
So when we compare that to the reality of a container, there has to be something containing the air, not a fake something. It's the same thing. You
My
have
only
to show
point
in reality.
is that if Arwen's going to call in scientific laws, then I might do that later with the law of gravitation.
No, but science doesn't make laws. Okay, do you understand? There's no scientific laws, right? There are just, and laws is again just the word that you're applying to things. What you mean when you say law is the concept of an observable phenomenon that never changes. So we will never see air without some sort of container for it to press on and create the pressure. That you can call it whatever you want to call it, but that's the observable fact.
Well, come back to me when you found the sky container, and we can discuss
Okay,
how
wait,
it's
all right,
made,
here, so
how it's
hold on,
there,
I
what it's
have a
made
point
of,
on
how it works.
Okay, so if you were in a
Come back when
body
you
of
find it.
water, Dawn, if you were floating in water, would you need to see the edge of the container or the pool to know that there's something containing that water?
I wouldn't assume I'm in a box unless I could touch the edge of the box.
No, I didn't ask that. I said if you're in a large body of water that you can't see the container of, would you assume that that body of water is just hovering in nothing, or that there's some sort of solid container?
Yeah, I'd assume that it has edges to hold the water.
Why would you assume that the water is being contained if
Because
you're
in my experience, water needs, a bowl or something to sit in, doesn't it?
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah,
Right.
so that makes sense. Okay, so now in your experience with air, right? Like how we use it when we make vacuums, and you'll see the air rush into a vacuum, and when you puncture a tire, the air releases. So we know that air is like water, right? In the fact that it needs a container. Just like water, you would say water needs a container. You can't say air. Just because you haven't seen it for the particular context of Earth. We're talking not about Earth. We're talking about the reality of the properties of the matter that we're observing.
Okay,
and one of the properties of water.
I get the point. Yeah.
Okay. So do you have anything? Do you have anything for it?
If I want to compress and hold air, it does need a container in my experience. But I think we need to think bigger when we're talking about the whole sky and reality. Honestly.
Okay. But
we can't consider the same
we think bigger, right? We think bigger, but we don't change. We don't
The
defy
only
law.
exception to this natural law is this presupposition that that's an open system, and you didn't even confirm it yourself. You're just assuming it, and it's your only exception.
Hey, Don,
reality is an exception to many things, Owen. Yes.
No, it's not reality. The reality is constant. The only exception is in your brain.
We can do more work and more studying, but I don't want to presuppose.
If you do it and if you do that work and prove something that we don't observe, that's great. But until that happens, you're going against reality when you say the things you're saying. So you can say maybe
on an antecedent quote, can we? And presupposing a sky route.
The
We're not
quote
allowed
is not
to presuppose stuff, are we? That's normally.
We didn't presuppose that.
Sorry, guys. Give me just 1 second. Just 1 second, guys. Just 1 second. Dawn, you accepted that the antecedent, a bowl, for your boat trip was acceptable because without the bowl, the water would dribble away. Right? So you have accepted. Dawn, you have accepted that. It is okay to accept an antecedent, the necessary requirement for something to be there in the first instance. Yes, an antecedent is a perfectly reasonable acceptance. Yeah?
Yes.
And the antecedent... Dawn, I haven't finished. I'll give you one last warning, right? When I'm talking, Dawn, you absolutely do not interrupt me. Right? I'm drawing the conclusion to this. You have conceded to write the hand that you accept an antecedent situation. So you and everybody else who's reasonable would accept an antecedent because it's an antecedent. And in the case of gas, the antecedent is a container.
Is it my turn to talk?
But that's just, yes, I accept that. I have already accepted it. I have conceded. I've been led beautifully by Right the Hand, who has got me to concede an antecedent consequent relationship with water. Gas is no different. It also has an antecedent, a container to press upon. Other than your religious fundamentalist belief that something violates that, a sky vacuum, there is no demonstration of no antecedent for gas pressure, other than your fundy belief.
Okay, I understand your antecedent point. Riley got me on it the other day as well. So I understand antecedents are sometimes necessary, but I don't think the antecedent.
Sorry, no, I've got to stop you.
Counts.
Sorry,
Dawn.
Dawn. Don't say that an antecedent is sometimes necessary. It's an antecedent.
That's what I just said.
You know, you said it's. I accept that it's sometimes necessary. No, it's only sometimes necessary when you've got a fundy belief in a bit that violates it, but can't demonstrate. It's always required. That's what an antecedent is.
Well, we do demonstrate it, don't we? We go up in the sky in rockets and we never bump into any roof. So
you do. When did you do this? When did you travel in a rocket and not bump into a roof?
Obviously not me. No,
so shut up. So I've had enough of this conversation, Dawn. Let's not worry about how you have acquired your fundy belief from priests. Let's not worry about that. Let's just accept that you haven't gone up and violated the second law of thermodynamics and that it holds true. So you've also accepted antecedent consequent relationships. So we can move on.
Okay, I know what we could move on to. Elevation profiles don't show drop by design. They're not supposed to. So obviously it's going to read 0 across the ocean because the elevation from sea level on the sea is obviously 0.
That's excellent. That was one of the most beautiful flat earth declarations I've ever heard you made. That's correct. There is no drop. It measures 0. It doesn't show drop. It doesn't measure drop. That's right, Dawn. Thank you.
By design, it doesn't measure drop.
This is great. Yeah, by design, it doesn't show drop. Yeah, I completely agree with you. By design, it's flat as a pancake.
An elevation profile, and it's designed to show elevation.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. An elevation profile is designed to show elevation, and it doesn't show any drop.
An elevation profile.
Toe tag.
That's why if you draw the line over the mountains, it shows the elevation of all the mountains, like little humps and bumps.
Yeah, does it
And
show
then when
the,
you draw a line over the
Dawn,
ocean, it shows
Dawn.
the elevation of the ocean, which is
Dawn.
0.
What? Flat? Level? Yeah, we know. We're flat earthers, Dawn. Welcome
No,
to the club.
0 elevation from the sea.
Yeah, welcome to the club.
Dawn, the problem is you're drawing a curved line between the 2 points. So if we take 2 points of elevation data, it should be a straight line between those 2 points because the shortest distance between 2 points. But so you're assuming you're changing the way we fundamentally graph data to make it fit your fundamental belief. When we track, when you track
hold on.
points
Let me just
of
stop him.
elevation,
Dawn,
you
stop
use straight
interrupting
lines
him.
to dot them.
Just start again right the hand, because Dawn wants to make sure that the actual point, the damning bit, doesn't get through to the audience. So the same applies to anybody else on the panel, Dawn. I know that this is difficult for you, but the truth is the truth, and I want it to be heard regardless if you're bracing against it. So please don't interrupt him. Let him rip you a new asshole.
I apologize again.
Okay, so the fundamental aspects of graphing and clocking and taking data, if you have 2 data points, okay, it is a straight line between them. You will lose all standard of everything if you have to curve the line between those 2 points. You can't get a distance, a proper distance measurement between 2 points if you have to curve the line. Do you understand?
No, I don't understand what you mean.
So if there's 2 points and they are 10 feet between them, and I walk a straight line and you have to walk a curved one, I will always get there first, right?
Well, what do you mean curved above the ground?
No, like not straight.
Yeah, straight lines are faster than curved
Yeah.
lines.
Okay, so do you understand on your model, you curve every line?
No, that seems like a wild statement.
Hold on, I've got to interject. I'm really sorry, right the hand. I'm really sorry. I'm just going to point this out for the audience.
Yeah.
We're now having to explain to a fundy that he's supposed to have drop. And he's saying, that sounds weird, that we should have drop.
No, I'm not, Nathan. I know we should have drop, but you can look at a drop meter or a curve calculator to work out how much drop.
He's just
you don't look at
explained,
an elevation profile.
He's
for
just
drop.
explained
That's
to you,
not-
Dawn.
that's not
If it's
for
curved,
that.
it's
It's not
curved,
for
right?
showing drop. It's
He's
not
just
for showing
explained
drop,
that,
it's
Dawn.
for showing elevation above sea level.
Dawn, you're just
That's what the
rumpusing
meter's
us
for.
with the same
Dawn,
point. Dawn. All you're doing is saying the same thing over and over again while we're giving explanations and expansions on what we say. That's your last chance. I mean it, Dawn. You're being a prick. So stop being a prick. Excellent. He seems to have understood. Right, Dawn, we're expanding on it, so don't just keep making the same claim over the top. Now, he's explained it to you that if it's curved, and you're telling us that seems weird. We would agree as flat earthers.
What? No, I said how he explained that last thing seems weird, not the concept you're just talking about.
Okay, here, let me try and explain. So you take 2 points on your Earth in your model, okay? 2 elevation points, right?
Can you tell me the distance of them? Or are you talking any?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It does matter. Scale matter.
100 miles apart.
Okay.
Okay, so they're both 6 feet.
Right.
They're both 100 miles apart.
Yeah.
You cannot draw a straight line.
I can't.
Not in your world. In your world, that line that connects those 2 points must be.
Unless it wants to go through the earth, yes, or through the water.
And there you go. So you're not getting a proper reading because you're not using straight lines. You're falsifying your data by You're falsifying your data by expanding the data points by turning straight lines, which are the most accurate representation, into curved lines.
No, tell me.
Yeah, hold on.
Okay, well, I can't make it any clearer.
Dawn. You see the elevation profile? It's claimed to be a circle in your fundamentalist religious outlook of the world.
Yes.
Is it circular?
Yep.
No, it's not. It's a square. So you see a box and see a circle, right? So it's back to this.
I don't know what you mean by elevation profile. Are you talking about the box on Google Earth, or are you talking about, looking at the Earth from side on?
Yes, the box contains elevations, up and down, differences between the two. Yeah? Now, that box is representing it against a flat plane. Now, according to you guys...
Well, how do you know that? Why are you saying that?
It's visually obvious, because that's what it shows. Now, what it's detailing is...
Well, no, you got to explain to me why you think that. Why are you claiming that?
I'm trying to, but you keep interrupting me. It's showing differences that go up and down. Drop is specifically... Yeah, I'm trying, but you're interrupting me. What? Dawn, why is it that you can't shut your mouth while I try and explain things to you?
It's the smug teacher attitude. That's what makes me interrupt.
Oh, right. Yeah, I'll do it a bit more then. And then kick you out when you keep interrupting me.
Yeah, that'll help.
Yeah, that's what I'll do. Just don't interrupt me. Yeah, I'm smug because I know at a fundamental level the Earth is flat. And the only thing that deviates from that is people's religious belief about it being spherical. And in this instance, we've got this quite eloquent example where we have specifically drops being measured, elevation profiles. And drop is what your world's all about, my friend, drop. So we've got this box that you tell us is actually a circle. That's what we've got. Circling a square, or squaring a circle, whichever way you want to look at it.
Yes, they've shown the graph as has the flat bottom and a flat side up the top. Yeah, they've used a square graph, a normal square graph, to show an elevation profile between 2 points. Yes, that's what Google Earth does.
Yeah, and what's an elevation profile?
It's not for showing drop.
And what's it dealing with? What's elevation profiles specifically interested in? Is it interested in
Right above sea level.
Is it interested in rise? Yeah, we know the sea is level. Flat, yeah, we know.
No,
let's not
it's
keep.
height
Let's
above
not.
sea level. That's
Dawn,
what
please
elevation
just
profile measures.
don't keep adding to my argument. I appreciate it that you know the sea is level, and I'm glad of that. But nevertheless, I'm trying to get a different point across.
I didn't say
to
that,
you.
Nathan. I didn't
Yeah,
say
you did.
that.
You said sea level. Thank you. You keep assisting
no,
our
I
argument,
didn't.
but I
said
just
it
don't want you
measures
to
height
interrupt.
above sea level.
I just don't want you to interrupt while I'm making my example. That's all. I know
You're lying. You're lying about what I said 2 minutes
I've got to
ago
kick you
or
out
30 seconds
now,
ago.
Dawn, because rather than letting me make my example, what you fundies accuse me of doing, you're now doing. You're censoring me. You're stopping me from making the example and explaining that elevation profiles are specifically interested in the rise and fall of the land. And in your world, the land has drop, measurable drop. We put the graph up and showed you on Ballbusters. There's measurements for it. You go on about it all the time. But then when we show you that there is no drop, the references for rising and falling topology reference a flat plane, then what are you going to say? Oh no, in the blurb, I haven't finished, Dawn. In the blurb for Google, it says they reference a sphere. Oh, so we're being told now that we're not begging the question correctly. We're not automatically assuming that it's actually a circle, and you're demanding that we assume that box is a circle. That's what we're being told. We're not begging the question properly. That's what I'm getting told in the comments. It's laughable.
It references a sphere, but it's using a flat graph because it's zoomed in.
Yeah, I just said that to you. That's, Dawn, I don't need a repetition of what I've heard from the commenters. While they tell me that they're laughing at me, they tell me that I'm not begging the question correctly. It's beautiful.
I don't know why you find this beautiful. I know you're conning some people with this weird.
Don't call me a liar and don't call me a con man. How dare you? Right, Dawn, I'm gonna have to shut you up. Right, I've had enough of you now, so I'm gonna shut you up because I'm not going to be called a charlatan and a liar by you. I'm not lying.
Stop lying.
Yeah, I'm not going to have it, I'm afraid, Dawn. Yeah, I'm not lying. I'm not a charlatan. I'm not deceiving people. The Earth is obviously and observably flat. This is amusing because we have a situation where we have to convince people that what we see and what we experience, flat and level, is actually not flat and level, but a circle. So we're being told a line or a box is a circle. That's the situation. It's nice and simple for once with Google Earth. It's so beautifully simple that we can say, yeah, you need that square to be a circle.
Sounds like
this Nathan. This is why I would say this reminds me of a movie. I don't know if you've seen They Live, where the guy's trying to force the glasses on the other guy, and they end up fighting. Okay, so this is what's happening here right now. You're saying, Dawn, look, this is the evidence, this is the information. Have a look through these lenses, these glasses. And he's just resisting with all of his might to the point where you two are now almost fighting, you see. So this, for me, is definitely psychology here. Dawn isn't able to see what you're trying to explain, which is clear evidence, right? But we're up against something bigger than just providing somebody with practical or a demonstration or anything like that. So I don't think fighting. I think allowing Dawn to probably try to express what he means. Because remember, we have the glasses, we can see the truth. He's not wearing them. He doesn't see actually what's happening there. He's struggling. And like I say, if you watch that movie, it's called They Live. So it's a very key scene. Because I think that scene shows what we're up against.
Hey, Spurs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Spurs, you're forgetting that you cannot force these glasses onto people, right? Dawn's been in this argument
That's what I'm saying.
long enough.
It's like
listen, real quick.
It's like,
real quick.
Shut up. Otherwise, and I'm saying that we have to kind of be a bit careful with these people. We have the glasses, right? We can.
But listen,
see
if he was in this argument for a couple of weeks, that would be one thing. He's been in this argument long enough to know certain things, and if he doesn't want to see it, he's not going to see it. I mean, we literally just had to tell him like a few shows ago what antecedent means. Do you not understand? He does not want to see it.
Hold on. In that movie, the guy picks the glasses up himself, and he's like, "Okay, let me try this out for myself. What's all the fuss about?" And then he saw, right? But when they were forced on that guy's face, he was having none of it. He was like, "No, you're not going to force me to see things your way. I have to see them eventually, my way," kind of thing. So I think, again, this is nothing to do with evidence. We could show them the flat Earth. They'd still deny it. We could show them that Google shows the elevation is flat. They're still denying it because this is nothing to do with evidence. We have been bombarded with psychology since we entered into the school premises, and it hasn't stopped. And now we have to reverse that psychology and say, look, okay, how do you see it? You see the Earth curving? Well, let's talk about that. Well, let's discuss how we can verify if the Earth actually curves. So, yeah, sorry. I just had to get that in there. Yeah.
First, take a break for a minute. You're asking all of us to abandon reasoning for a pair of glasses in the movie.
No. I'm saying that if you watch that movie, did that fight when he tried to force the glasses on that guy, did it achieve anything? That's what I'm trying to say. So we realize that this.
First, don't go back to the movie when I ask a question about reasoning using a mind. Using your mind and reasoning back and forth is called dialogue. You want us to abandon that method for a pair of glasses in a movie, which is a movie, not real.
Sorry to interrupt. I don't think that's what Spurs is saying. Spurs is kind of saying saying it's not possible to force. Let's think of the other analogy. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, and that's kind of what he's asking.
Okay, I got it, Nathan. Thanks for the clarification. I have animals, many types, but my friend is my boxer. He runs with me all day long. He's panting. I say, "Oh, he wants some water, man," and because when I pant, I want some water. So I take and pour a bowl of water for him. He won't go near it. I said, "What's the matter here?" He's tired as heck. He just ran a mile. No, he's got to sit there. He's got to pant and cool down, and then he goes and drinks it. So guess what? I can't force my dog to drink water either. So guess what? I don't. They'll drink when they're thirsty.
These ball earthers will be panting. When we see them panting, that's when the numbers increase by the flat earthers. That's when they'll start to say, because right now they're like, well, you guys are a small community online, and you don't affect the wider audience or the bigger picture. When that happens, people like Dawn, people like whoever, who are very, very adamant and digging their heels in, then they will put the glasses on because they'll be like, well, hold on, how is so many people coming
Dawn,
to...
Spurs, how many times has Dawn declared on this show that he chooses to believe in things? He chooses it. That's his choice. So you can't, you can't convince him. If he wants to see it, he's going to see it. If not, all you can do is lead him to the water. You can't make him drink.
Spurs,
That's what Tense Man is trying to tell you.
Thank you, Chocolate. Spurs, remember you brought your guest to the show for Nathan the other day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gummy.
Now, if you go back to that show and listen to it, and I've done it twice because it was a clinic of how to ask a question and don't talk and answer the question for your opponent. Ask a pertinent question and then shut up, meaning me, if I'm asking the question, then I got to shut up. And then there's this silence. It goes on, maybe 5 seconds. I've trained thousands of salespeople, and they come back after a night of an appointment and they say, oh, I almost had it. I lost the sale. I go, what happened? And then the next night. Finally, I said, look, let's just go into the training room and let's see how your presentation is coming along. So we go to the training room and I said, just pretend I'm the client. So, of course, they're a little bit scared because I'm their friend, but I'm also their mentor. And I say, no, don't be scared. Just pretend. Here's what happens. You ask a question, or they ask a question, and then because the silence is creating tension, they can't stand the tension, and they jump in when the customer is thinking in his head, should I buy it? The last point he made sense. I need it. This is something I want. And that's what the customer is doing, but there's silence. He's doing it in his head. But the guy can't handle it, the salesman, so he interrupts and he loses the sale. You need the silence. You need to let them answer. The tension is by design. Now watch. Just do it for a second. No one say anything. I'm going to ask a question and just wait 10 seconds. It will seem like an eternity. Hey, so can you have gas pressure without a container?
Dawn's not here. He's
lasted
gone.
six. He lasted 6 seconds.
After 5 seconds.
Six.
After 5 seconds.
Are you talking to me? I thought you were talking to Dawn. Sorry.
So
no, I'm
excellent,
talking to you.
excellent example.
He's talking to everybody. He just said, look how long 10 seconds will be. Watch.
Yeah, that's essentially, you're right, 10th man. When it comes to tension, often the person who's applying the tension doesn't appreciate that it's actually them that's applying it. And they feel their own tension that they've built up and then can't help themselves but break the tension. And it's like, no, sometimes it is necessary to, as you put it, let the person process the information. And that happens on the show, and often other people on the panel can't help it because the tension is so much that they feel compelled to jump in for the person who is actually having the tension applied to them. In this case, or in Gummy Bear's case, he was the person that was under pressure. None of the panel were.
You want to know how it ended up?
Yeah, go ahead.
His very next appointment, he got the sale.
And we all lived happily ever after.
We did training after that. I saw that it was a great need after that. I figured, well, if it's happening to one of my sales agents, it's happening to most of them. So what we would do, we all get in a room and we would take turns so that there was not one leader. And everyone would ask a closing question on one of the products we were selling. And then everybody would have to just not say anything for 30 seconds. And then we would study body language of the salesperson sitting at a kitchen table looking at husband and wife after asking the closing question. 30 seconds, and you can't be squirming after you ask the question. You've got to ask the question because you believe in your product and you believe they need it, so you want them to buy it from you. Or else don't be in this, this business of sales, because you really have to be honest. So I said, why would you go and sell something to someone that doesn't need it? They go, we wouldn't. I said, great, then ask the question and shut up. And 30 seconds would go by. It would seem like forever. And then all of a sudden, our office grew in sales because the salesman would not answer his own question.
I'm amazed. I'm amazed how politely everyone sat and listened through that. That was excellent. Oh, Paul, you've got something wrong with your microphone. Hold on, just 1 second.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, you've got a load of problems with your mic, Paul. It's really distorted. If you can just drop and try rejoining, maybe. Go ahead, Spurs.
So the ball earthers have been hit with a double whammy. Okay, so on the one hand, they've been told that the flat earthers are morons and, you know, they don't know anything, they can't work. So in their mind, they're thinking, when I approach a flat earther, this will be easy. You know, I'll just be able to demonstrate whatever. And then they find out, well, hold on, this is it's different to what they thought, right? It wasn't what they thought. Now they find themselves in a 2, 3, 4 hour conversation, you know, days now with that flat earther, going back and forth for what they initially thought would just be a walk in the park. Okay, so that's the first blow. It's like, oh, okay, the flat earthers seem to know what they're talking about. So now, you know, they didn't realize that they don't have anything to demonstrate. So they know they have all this information, all of this knowledge, but they don't know how to demonstrate it. So what I was thinking is it's very tiring to be a ball earther. That's where they get frustrated and they don't last. So they think, right, well, let's just turn this into a pantomime because I don't have any more than, you know, what I've been told. So again, this is part of the traumatic experience for them. And it's showing them.
Maybe Spurs at that point, it's time for them to find a new hobby. Maybe it's not time for them to delve into this.
No, it doesn't work like that. When you're, you know, an individual who's been bombarded and you've invested in this, you're not going to let it go. There's just no way.
No, you got it all wrong, Spurs. It's the opposite. It's the opposite. Let me explain, if I may. If they are hit by the 7 housekeeping questions, for example, all right, Spurs, and they don't have answers for them, and because of the brainwashing of years and years before, right? That's what you're addressing when you say that, right?
Yeah, I've got a response, but go on.
Okay, all right. So then they hear the 7 housekeeping questions. They're formulating in their mind how they're going to answer them based on their globe Earth training and nothing but the globe Earth training over all the years, the pseudoscience. They can't answer them. They resort to ad homing, which means they've proven that they're disingenuous. They don't really care for the truth. Now, you, on the other hand, see that struggle. Let me finish. You, on the other end, see the struggle that they can't answer 7 housekeeping questions, and they resort to ad homing, which proves they're disingenuous about their search for truth. And you still want to help them?
That's not, yeah, because that's not what the case is. You're looking at this, just in my mind, I think you're looking at it incorrectly. Okay, so when a ball earther enters the arena, again, they're under the impression. They have an idea. They have an expectation. Okay, so they've been given knowledge. They've been given information. So hold on, please. So what will happen is, how they see it is, okay, I enter a discussion, I'm armed with, you know, whatever information I have, but if there's something I don't know, let's say, you know, Nathan or Anthony or John or myself, whoever brings a point up where they feel they can't answer, that individual, in the back of his mind, he's thinking, well, somebody has the answer, you know, somebody will be, and that's how initially I was, and I think that's how most people are, is they think, well, if I don't know, somebody else does, right? And that's why they're so resistant, because they're thinking, no, in the back of their minds, they're thinking, no, somebody has the answer. Just because I don't know, somebody, and that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with an idea.
Let's put that to the test so we don't have a lot of verbal diarrhea here from my end or yours. Ask me a question and pretend I'm a baller. Just ask me one of the housekeeping questions, and I'll be a disingenuous baller as well as a genuine baller, and I'll be the genuine baller first. So ask me any housekeeping question, pretend I'm a baller.
I mean, any size of gravity. I mean, for the sake of, yeah, but I understand as well, like I say, where you're coming
ask me the question. I'm going to put to test your theory.
Okay.
Ask me the question.
Any signs of axial rotation, things like this? Presupposed globe?
Okay, just
anything like
that? No, just ask the question and shut up.
Just asked you, is there any sign? Is there any evidence or signs or scientific proof of axial rotation, for example?
Okay, so axial rotation, any signs? Well, I'm looking out. I don't see anything spinning, but I've been told things are spinning. You know what? That's a good question. I'm sure we're spinning. I just don't know why I'm not feeling it through my senses. Can I get back with you on that? Now, that's a genuine baller. Now, hang on. Let me role play now the disingenuous baller. Oh, he's right. He's got me. There's nothing moving, but I'm not going to lose this. No, you know what? You flat earthers, you're stupid. Gravity is a law. It's a settled issue. The Earth is big. Can't you see the pictures from space from the ISS? Are you stupid, flat earther?
Right. And again, why do they react like this? And I've tried to illustrate why there's this reaction, because the reason why they react like it.
No.
Yeah, the reason why they react like
You're asking why they react this way. Why does manure smell like shit?
That was much better.
It is.
That was a much better example of a disingenuous baller answer.
Ay, Spurs. Manure smells like shit.
Listen, the reason why they respond like this, because I've spoke with a lot of them, and in their head, somebody has the answer somewhere, and when you pin them down to you as the individual, well, that's when they panic, right? They realize, okay, I haven't done it, not me. They say somebody. They speak in we, they speak they've done it, we've done it, and how they see it, they feel, well, we don't have to. That's how they see it. So again, unless you pin them down on what of you as an individual, like Dawn is a good example, you see, because we know Dawn hasn't done any, experiments, but he knows in his head that somebody somewhere has done it. That's how he feels about it, right? That's the point. So that's what.
Spurs. No, Spurs. You're wrong again, because if somebody has the answer why manure smells like shit, I'd go find that person and prove it to you. But it's pretty obvious it smells like shit. Okay,
I know that. I'm saying that's how they see it. They see it as, well, somebody's done it. Just because I haven't, somebody.
Right. And that's what so if they were genuine, they would say, give me a week or give me a day and I'll get back with you, because this is a very good question. I just don't have the facts at the tip of my tongue. And that's how they would react. You know how many conversations I've had with people about flat earth and the globe, and they think I'm crazy. And then I ask the 7 housekeeping questions, and they just are stuck because I don't talk after I ask the question. And they look at me and they say, wow, that's a good one. I said, how much time do you need to research this and get back with me? I'm still waiting. None of them have gotten back with me. Why should I be chasing them?
I mean, again, there's nothing really much to argue about other than analyze why they are the way they are. And I think if you have a conversation, if you don't try to force the glasses on them and explain to them what they will see once they look through these glasses, okay, then they will be intrigued.
Hold on, 10th man. Just let him get to the end of his bit.
Okay, so once you show them what the glasses are all about, what's behind, what they will see, and make it so they want to look through. Right now, the community is making it very difficult for them to look through it, because we're almost forcing the issue, right? But again, a simple conversation showing why they believe what they believe will encourage them to put the glasses on. Yes.
Spurs,
It's called free will, Spurs. It's called free will. You cannot force somebody to look into something who is not either interested or ready to look into it. It's as simple as that.
Chocolate, you nailed
it. Absolutely, I agree.
Spurs,
that's what I just said. You have to.
Spurs, I listened to you. Chocolate nailed it. You are forcing the glasses onto them with your way. Can't see that you're doing the opposite of what you want. You think by sitting there and having verbal diarrhea and explaining the psychology of it all and cuddling with them, you are forcing it on them instead of asking a pertinent question that's soaked and based in truth and shutting up, of course, proper context and letting them stew over it and having them go search for the answer. No, you come in, interrupt your own question, and bring in psychology and force the glasses on them when they don't want it. You're the one doing it.
I'll give an example of how I've been able to encourage the opposition to maybe take a peek through those glasses without forcing. Okay, this is by me understanding their experiments. I know we don't like to call them experiments, but again, if I work with, you know, what I see someone who's going through trauma. Okay, you see ghosts. We believe in ghosts. You think Cavendish makes a force. Okay, let's talk about that. Okay, so for example, the Cavendish experiment, okay, you know, we've argued back and forth about how it should work, what the force is what the cause is it science, okay? So I've said to them, look, okay, Cavendish, great experiment, fantastic experiment, but it needs to be done in the correct parameters, okay? So I was saying to them, if Cavendish was in a vacuum, the balls wouldn't move. There'd be no force. There'd be no reason why the balls would move together. Now, they took an interest in this, okay? They were scrambling, looking for videos of Cavendish in a vacuum. This prompted the idea that, well, hold on, chemo can't be right about this because the force is there. So even in a vacuum, that force would still be there, you see? Now, they've picked up the glasses, because now they haven't put them on quite yet, but they've picked them up at least. And now they're looking for Cavendish in a vacuum because they now realize the variable hasn't been removed. Now, I didn't force that on them. I just said, look, okay, if Cavendish is a viable experiment and you want it to be viable, well, let's remove all the variables. Let's look at what is the cause of the balls moving, okay? And now...
Bullshit.
And now they're exploring that option. Okay, we need to see Cavendish in a vacuum to ensure that that force where we think a variable is the cause is actually there. So that's just one way. That's one way.
So you've conceded Spurs experiment when it's not an experiment. You've conceded a man-made device rather than observing it in natural phenomenon, nature itself. And you've conceded the vacuum of space that doesn't exist. Look what you've done. You've
for the
put
benefit, for the benefit, like I said,
you're making them more blind.
Look, you know, if a therapist is speaking to someone,
Spurs, I can't stop him interrupting you and then not stop you interrupting him. Go ahead, 10th man.
Thank you. Spurs, you got to finish. Let me finish. You're making them more blind. You've given them 3 things that don't exist. To point out something, here, take some more cyanide and then I'll give you the cure.
Not quite. Again, if somebody believes in ghosts, okay, if I just outright say you're crazy, there are no ghosts, they won't open up. They won't tell me their experience. Now, if I say to them, okay, let's go with it. There's a force that you believe is the cause. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's experiment with this force. Now, my understanding is the force, there's a force, atmosphere, wind current, whatever it may be, electricity, magnetism, whatever it may be. I believe that to be the cause. They would say, oh, no. This would work in a vacuum. Because...
hold on, 10th man.
Sorry?
Go ahead.
Can we role play this?
Yeah, so they would respond and say, well,
just role play it with me.
Let's not role play it. Let's just let him get to the end of his statement.
I just want to get it out. So, yeah. So they would say, well, of course it works in a vacuum. Of course there's a force. So once we verify, once we all witness no force in a vacuum, then your question, 10th man, my question, and everybody else's question that's on the tip of their tongue, is there a force, is answered overnight in that moment. No force. And in fact, that would prove it. That would show it to a lot of people. Well, there's how are these things moving, right? It'd be interesting. What is the cause? So again, this would open up many doors and many questions because we would want to know, well, what's the cause? What's the cause of the 2 balls attraction, the attraction, you see? So yeah, that for me is them at least picking the glasses up, like I said, and maybe trying to look through our eyes also. Because remember, that's how we see it. There's no force. We want them to accept no force. And the only way that they will is by going through their parameters and then verifying their own test, which will show no force.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Are you done?
Said yeah.
I want to test this beautiful theory of his. I'm a baller. I believe in the force of gravity. Start. I'm in the dialogue with you. I want to see how it works.
Well, I mean, I've had this with real ball earthers. I've had it with Fight the
No,
Flat
I'm
Earth
a
with
baller.
Reds. I've had it with Jem.
If I
I've had
believe
it
in
with
gravity.
Paul.
Hold on.
Paul. I've had it
man.
with all the top ball earthers, and they agree, okay, that this force should happen in a vacuum. And I was saying, well, where is it? Let's see this. You know, they were going crazy yesterday on Reds Rhetorics. They were like, oh, it does work. We've got video, and none of them could find a video of this in a vacuum. So now we've prompted something here, 10th Man. We've prompted the ball earthers. If they are going to claim there is a force, they have to show this in a vacuum. So that's where we are right now.
All I asked, Spurs, was for you to ask me a question about gravity and pretend I'm a baller, and you gave me more verbal diarrhea. I can't help it.
I don't
I'm an
like to play games, 10th Man. I don't like to play games. This is a very serious situation.
It's
and
not
what we
a
have
game.
right now, we
It's
have
not
ball
a
earthers on
Okay,
the cost
right. Hold on, both of you.
of real.
Hold on, both of you. So, am I correct, 10th Man, in assuming that what you want to do is lead him to ask a question? Shout out to Retro Bill for the super chat. Thank you very much indeed for your support. You want to lead him to ask a question and demonstrate to him where he is begging the question for them. Is that correct? Am I correct in that?
Yes, but that's not the whole thing. What I want to do is I want to be a baller for the moment, and I want to see how his theory works out if I play the role of a baller and see how long it takes between what he says and I say. And then I want to repeat that with us doing it the way we do, which is asking a question, like one of the 7 housekeeping questions about gravity, and then allowing me to go through the normal way, which is don't answer the question for them, don't beg the question for them. So, yes, I want to do that.
You actually think like a ball earther, though. That's the problem.
What do you think I'm saying here?
But I don't think you would. Okay, so you think if you're a ball earther, you think gravity is a force, yeah?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I believe gravity.
So, do we have any experiments? Do we have any experiments to show that this force is real?
Yeah, I mean, look, Newton came up with it. I mean, he was a smart guy. Mass attracts mass. It's in all the science books. Are you telling me you, some guy over there in the UK, you know more than these guys? Come on, you're nuts.
I would have thought there was an experiment to show this.
Well, there are experiments. Cavendish, I can drop this mic. It's going to fall down. There's acceleration. Hey, if I drop it, there's something pulling it down. What? I mean, how do you think the oceans and everything stick to this earth? Come on now, wake up. We're in the 21st century.
Okay, so do you have any experiments that show mass attracts mass?
I just told you all of the science books. What, did you fall asleep in science when you were in school? It's in all the science books. You think it'd be there if it was a lie? Come on.
That's not how the ball earthers would go about this. They would say, look, we have scientific evidence. Here is an experiment. And then we would shoot them down about this is not an experiment. So you haven't highlighted all the experiments that you think you have, right?
Excuse me. I won. You lost. You violated. You went to describe a ball earther when you're a flat earther.
Sorry, that's met with total silence from Spurs, so you'll have to reiterate and summarise the point that you've made now that you've got him to do it.
The point is, I acted as a baller. He didn't ask a question that was pertinent enough and be quiet afterwards. There were weak, watery down questions. I overcame him easy with my world brainwashing that had been done to me as a baller. And this conversation would go for 4 more hours and it would never get anywhere. And then he couldn't help himself. He got out of the role play and said, well, you wouldn't say that if you were a baller. Except I did say it as a baller.
Well, that's not someone who really believes in that they have science.
I know my
hold on. Spurs. So what 10th Man is hoping that you take from this is a couple of things. One is that you are a bit more strong in your assertions when you're asking these questions, rather than saying any signs of maybe axial rotation or the Earth turning or any kind of thing like that. Have you got any kind of evidence of that? It's kind of a bit it doesn't make a strong statement when you ask that question in that way. I think that's an example of the point that he's trying to make to you, 10th Man, that is. Secondly, you're not waiting long enough to let the pressure build. Now, I experienced this with you also when grilling Gummy Bear. Now, these are hopefully not taken personally, these criticisms, which is what they are, but it's done in a way, from what I gather, to hopefully benefit you in terms of the way that you approach this when tackling the subject with other people.
Spurs, I respect you, and I'm only doing this for role play purposes. No harm at all. I mean, I love you, so don't take
Sure. But pleasantries aside, do you understand what was trying to be achieved, Spurs?
I fully understand what's said. I fully understand, and again, we all can't, go have that same, that's what makes us different, right? So we all can't have the same vigor in, how we address ball earthers. I appreciate the way that, you do it, or 10th Man does it, or, John, it's all appreciated. But, I mean, I just see it not differently, but I feel there's another way to get through to these individuals. That's all. Sure. And I feel like I have. I feel like they are now looking into their own claims. Like I say, with things like Cavendish, they were satisfied with Cavendish, and now they're questioning Cavendish, right?
And with that, I'll say, if you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. However, if you're watching this live on Nathan Oakley 1980, unfortunately, this is where we bid you farewell. A massive, huge, enormous thank you for tuning in, subscribing, liking, sharing, and all that good stuff. Also, a massive thank you to all of you who hit the super chat. Again, a massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this debate possible. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum. I've been Nathan Oakley. I'll see you all in the next video, and stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Outdoors, and there was a choo-choo train or something.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I'm just sitting here in my house. It might have been my Bluetooth the way it was connected. I was also trying to use my laptop. I'm back on the Chromebook I normally use, so I don't know what's going on.
10th Man, do you have a link to 24/7 on Discord?
Again, you'll have to explain what's 24/7?
Yeah, that's the Flat Earth Discord.
Who was it that reminded me that the Discord link was broken? Thank you, whoever it was. He might have been Ranty.
You mean on Master B?
I'm only hearing like 10th Man. I'm not hearing who he's talking to.
He's talking to physics.
You don't hear me, Travis?
You've got really
weird. Okay, so imagine the situation now then. Flat earthers have been really nasty to ball earthers. Then they become flat earthers, and then we've just been nasty to them. Doesn't make any sense. So it wouldn't be horrible. Like, become a flat earther. Become a flat earther. Okay, I'm a flat earther. Oh, okay. Now we're your friend. Something like this. They want to transition from ball to flat, knowing that somebody supported them through this transition, right? So obviously, the people. So obviously, when Nathan's talking to the audience, they can thank him, be like, "Okay, I've listened to what you say. He wasn't attacking me, but." I was listening to your argument. It's like, thank you, because now I was listening. But the person that he's talking to, or whoever Flat Earth is talking to, like, let's say if it's Wiggle, let's say Wiggles was considering Flat Earth.
So Spurs, if I'm called a moron every day because I don't believe I live on a spinning ball, and that person who's calling me a moron, all of a sudden decides that one day.
My sound just dropped out, so I can't hear anything right now.
Thanks for letting us know.
Nice.
No, I'm just saying the transition. Let's suppose Wiggles was considering Flat Earth. Okay. So that would mean Flat Earthers, there'd be like a community. So now he'd want to join the Flat Earth community. So now he's a Flat Earther and he wants to align with Nathan, but Nathan's called him all names under the sun, for the last so long. So what does he do? Does he think, right, well, I
and
like
Wiggles
Nathan
hasn't done the same.
because he's a flat
Every
earther.
time
We're
he's come in
together,
here
but
and he
he's
calls Nathan
hold
a
on,
moron or a liar.
hold on. Spurs and Chocolate, you're talking through each other.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
You want to respond,
No,
Chocolate?
well,
As he's
so
left
so
the
I
gap.
was
So I'm
gonna
just
say
trying to
so.
say.
Go on, Spurs. Go on, Chocolate.
No, so you're saying, all right, so if Wiggles decides that he wants to become a flat earther, but Nathan, has already berated him, so what? That's a problem. Well, how about all the times that Wiggles has berated Nathan? I mean, there's got to be.
Well, look, when you decide to become a flat earther, ridicule has to be expected. I mean, we're telling people this is normal. Right, this is not something that people just know. It's like, what? The Earth is flat.
Sorry, Spurs. Sorry, did you say when you become a flat earther? Now, I'm just going to preface this by saying, being a flat earther is just being somebody who lives in the world, because we're all flat earthers. The Earth's flat. So, but you're saying that because people have a religious belief, just recognizing reality warrants ridicule?
No, to them it's reality. Yeah? They see their reality as real. So we're going against what they feel is reality. So I'm saying that it would be normal for them to say, well, what do you mean? This is crazy. You're crazy,
So what?
not you.
Okay, I get that. But so what? So you're saying because we have a different view, we're worthy of ridicule, even if theirs is right or ours is right. You still think that someone having a different view. Now, I stutter saying that because I don't just see it as having a different view. Obviously, I see it as just the world we live in. It's obviously flat. So what? I don't, that doesn't necessarily tie me to any groups or associate me with anything or anybody. But it just means that's the world I've recognised. But you're saying because they see their world as correct, you deserve ridicule.
You don't deserve ridicule. I'm not saying that. No one deserves ridicule. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying
to be ridiculed.
Okay, expect.
You're not saying deserved. You're saying
expect. Yeah.
No one deserves ridicule. I'm saying that when you, like, if someone told you your mom is not your mom, your dad is not your dad, and then you would be like, that'd be so silly. You would, that'd be just nonsense, right? So I'm saying that this is more personal to the individual. It's like a part of them. This globe is like a part of them, and we're ripping that part away from them. So to them, they're taking this very personally. And I'm saying as flat earthers, we should kind of recognize that because, well, I don't know about you, I'm saying that, I was like, what? We've been lied to, So there's that shock, that initial shock where they're still going through, they're still experiencing, well, that would mean the scientists are lying, NASA is lying, the schools are lying. Yeah, they're all lying. They can't get their head around that, right? That's what we're offering here. So like I said, they need to transition from globe to flat Earth. What?
First, are you going to play Part B or not?
Part B.
No, Woz is here now. Hey, look, Woz is here. He's a ball earther, a real ball earther. Because I don't, here's a real ball earther. So Woz, jump in, don't be shy, and I'll be back in a minute. Yeah, excellent.
What did you just say?
Good on you, mate. You're on the front line. You're fighting the good fight. I'll give you that. You get out of your comfort zone and give it a good hard hit. Well done, mate.
Shout out to Woz.
Hold on, I'm going to second that. I totally agree. I'm all for what Spurs does, and I think he does a very good job of it. Feeding ballers to the Lions. More credit to him.
Yep,
exactly.
I'm not saying otherwise.
No, I'm not saying you weren't. That wasn't in any way a dig at you.
No, I know you weren't saying that. And this is kind of like the panel finding equilibrium with itself, you might say. My opinions, his opinions, my style, his style. I get it. I'm not trying to force myself on him. I just want to test what he says. So plan B or part B was that he would be the baller believing in gravity, and I would be the flat earther, reversing the roles.
No need. Woz is here.
What's that?
Woz is here now, so no need. You two have at it. I'm just setting up for the next live show. So.
Yeah, go on. Oh god.
I didn't understand what you said. Say the story.
I'm not the best. I'm not the best ball earther. Okay. I just know it's a ball.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Well, did you catch the earlier part with Spurs, or are you just coming on?
I've caught a lot of Spurs in the past. He's a good bloke. He comes into the other Discord channel and gets out of his comfort zone and puts his, not just his toe, but his whole body in the water.
All right. Love it. So what's your name? What do you go by?
Pardon?
I don't know how to address you. What's your name?
It's Waz, 10th man. Waz.
W-O-Z.
W-O-Z.
My name's Waz.
Waz. W.
It's my real, yeah. W-O-Z.
Okay,
it's my real.
W-O-Z.
W-O-Z. Got it. All right. Waz. All right. So
Z.
if you're
W-O-Z.
So are you a Glober in reality, or are you?
Good day, mate.
Okay, can we just look? Hello,
I don't
Waz.
think there's enough.
Hold on one second.
I
Waz,
don't
sorry.
think there's
Sorry.
enough evidence.
Everyone, I just want everyone to dispense with the pleasantries so that you and 10th Man can actually have a conversation. Anybody else going to say hello to Waz?
Dispense with the pleasantries.
Yeah, so that you two can
No,
have an
I don't do
uninterrupted.
that.
Just want you two to
I
have
like
an
to-
uninterrupted conversation. That's all.
So Waz,
Yeah, okay.
jump into it. Hey, Waz. So you said you believe in gravity, right?
I don't. I'm a flat Earth.
No, you got to pretend you're a baller.
Look, there's no more role play going on.
I don't see.
There's no more role play.
I don't see enough evidence for.
Sorry, Waz. Sorry, I'm interrupting you now.
All right.
Sorry, I'm on
So
Discord,
from
mate.
I understand. So from what I understand, part two of what I suggest is as role play is not going to happen. I'm just to talk to what like it's a new conversation.
Tenth, you don't have to role play. That's the thing. Waz is a baller, so you and him can just go at it. Go for it.
No, I understand. I tried that, but he said he was acting like he was in between. So I wasn't getting it.
No, I don't see any evidence for a flat Earth.
All right, let's go, Waz. Do you believe in gravity the way it's been taught?
Yeah, I think that works. Yeah, it explains.
So can you describe it in your words? I mean, I won't hold you to it, but just from your memory.
You're asking me how.
Well, I asked you, do you believe in gravity? You said yes. And then I said, the way it was taught, you said yes. And I said, can you describe it in your own words? And don't worry about being wrong. I won't hold you to it because it's just on the spot, Johnny on the spot.
Yeah. Look, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a physicist. I drive a forklift. I do that sort of work. You know, I do laborious type of work. So, from my perspective, the way I see it, mass and gravity are directly linked. You can't have one without the other, like love and marriage.
All right.
Like air pressure in a container.
Where did you learn about mass and gravity?
By just talking about flat Earth. I've only really got more of an understanding about it since I've got into this whole flat Earth thing.
Do you recall ever being taught that when you were in school?
Well, I was probably taught that in school, but I never really paid attention, and that was many decades ago.
Okay, so you believe mass and gravity are related?
Can I ask a question?
No, Paul.
That's the way I understand it.
Okay, and your understanding of that is from just talking to people. You really can't recall ever learning it from a book because you didn't pay attention in school. Is that right?
Well, that's probably a very simplified version, but that's what I implied. I suppose you could take that.
Can you give me something a little bit more concrete other than something you imply? Like, do you have any proof?
No, none at all.
Okay, so proof.
I've not done any experiments myself. So no, I don't have any. If that's
Something else? Anything? Any more? Was? Your last word cut off was?
I'm not getting a clear sound from you guys.
Oh, okay, you're coming in a little bit fuzzy as well. It might just be your internet connection. I might, in that case, take that as an opportunity to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who have joined us in the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, for tuning in, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!